Welcome in to week one of the college football season, and I'm going to go through a few of the biggest games of the weekend, give some of my predictions, some of my takes, the best bets of the weekend. This will be part one. I will have part two coming out later in the week, covering some more of the weekend games, the Saturday games specifically. Today, we're going to talk about the Thursday and Friday slate, a couple of games from both of those days that I think are really important and massive for the entire season of college football, to be honest. I think some of these have implications that go deeper than just week one of the football season. So let's start with the first game on my radar on Thursday night, the Backyard Brawl. And this is West Virginia versus Pittsburgh, 6 p.m. on ESPN. This is at a Kreischer Stadium in Pittsburgh. So this is not a home game, but it kind of is a home game, right? I mean, it's in Pittsburgh, so there's a little bit of an advantage there. The over-under right now is 52 points. Pitt is favored by 7.5 going into this game. Lots of storylines, right? The Backyard Brawl is back. That's super exciting. There have been some big moments in this rivalry for a long time. I also think it's just one of those things where there's a little bit of bad blood there. There's a little bit of, one's in the ACC, one's in the Big 12. So, are we really rivals anymore? I think we're going to see that they absolutely are, and there's absolutely some hate. Maybe not hate. Maybe that's too strong of a word, but I definitely think that there's some excitement to play one another and kind of prove which is the better program at this time. Now, besides that, you got JT Daniels versus Keaton Slovis. JT is at West Virginia. Keaton is at Pittsburgh, and these two were both at USC together. And Keaton ended up winning that job, essentially. JT leaves. He was at Georgia. Now he's at West Virginia. So it's all kind of full circle, right? And now Keaton's at Pittsburgh. And I find that to be fascinating as well. I think that there's probably, maybe not bad blood between the two of them, but I think that there is some, I'm going to prove that I was the better quarterback during our time at USC together. And I think that could be a part of this as well. So a couple things I'm going to be looking for as we kind of dive into this game a little bit. So Mark Whipple is gone at Pitt. And obviously, Kenny Pickett was amazing there last year. Jordan Addison was the big-time wide receiver who transferred to USC. So they're both gone, and Mark Whipple is gone. But that offense was spectacular a season ago. They were able to put up points on just about everybody. They really spread it around really well through the pass game. So now it's kind of this all-encompassing question of what's next. You lose an offense coordinator like that. You lose, the star power that they had a year ago. And Pat Narduzzi has really never been a coach that has decided that we're going to win with our offense. Last year was the first year in his entire career that I think he's really done that, where he's been like, this is probably the better way to win football games. And so that makes me believe that I don't think he's going to go back to that this year. I really don't. I think they're going to try to run the ball more effectively and maybe rely on that a little bit more, while also saying we have a great defense returning. And Pitt does. Pitt returns a lot on the defensive side. I think they're going to be very stout on that side of the football, and they're going to provide a lot of challenges, especially with their secondary and their defensive front. So I think Pitt is probably going to go back to that a little bit. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know that we'll know that quite yet, but I do think last year's team was special in the regard that they could pretty much go out there and put up a ton of points. They had a great quarterback, a great receiver, and they were able to stress your defense in that way. And then the defense kind of just got to feast on that, right? When you build up a big lead, the defense was able to go out there, create turnovers, and make plays and such. So now it's just a matter of seeing what's next. And then on the flip side, West Virginia brings in Graham Harrell, so they're going to want to air it out a little bit more than they have in the past. They have JT Daniels now, which is a huge upgrade over Jarrett Dagey, who they had the past couple seasons. And I think JT Daniels is the best quarterback they've had since 2018 when they had Will Grier. So could this be a situation where they've kind of switched places a little bit? And West Virginia is going to be that team that takes more shots downfield with a good receiving core, a good quarterback. Maybe. That's all going to rely on how good is JT Daniels. I think it's also going to rely on the fact of, can West Virginia's offense line hold up? They return a lot, but they weren't very good a year ago. They didn't protect the quarterback very well, and West Virginia just simply has not been able to run the ball at all during Neil Brown's tenure. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball in this game either. but I do think they will be able to take shots downfield with an explosive passing attack, so that's going to be something fun to watch. I will also say Neil Brown is pretty excited about that defense, and I've heard a lot of camp reports about West Virginia's defense being really improved this year, so we will see if that actually comes to fruition. My pick in this game, I like West Virginia plus 7.5. I feel like that's a lot of points for a rivalry game. I mean, more than a touchdown, that's quite a bit. And I don't think this is going to be a game where either team really comes in and blows out the other team. I think this is going to be a game where both teams really want to win. Both teams play really good defense. And I think because of that, I think it's going to be a close game. If I were to pick it straight up, I'd be a little more torn. I might go Pitt if I'm picking it straight up, but plus 7.5, give me West Virginia in this game. The other game on Thursday night, Penn State at Purdue. This is on Fox at 7 p.m. Penn State is a 3.5-point favorite, over under 53.5. Another interesting game. Very, very interesting. I know we've talked about this throughout the offseason, but this is one of the bigger games in the Big Ten for the entire season. And I think the reason for it is because it really gets things going. It gets the Big Ten schedule kicked off. And for Purdue, if they want to win their division, they kind of need this game. This is a sneaky game where it could go, okay, if Purdue wins this game, maybe they're going to win 9. Maybe they could even push for 10 games during the season. Penn State, on the other hand, needs this game if they just want any shot at competing in the Big Ten East. I mean, if you want to keep up with Michigan and Ohio State, you can't lose this game week 1. I think on the Purdue side and really the Penn State side, here's kind of my dilemma when I'm picking this game. Everything I've heard out of Purdue's camp is that the offense line, defense line are going to be one of the best groups they've had in a long time on both sides. And if that is the case, that bodes really well for them throughout the season, but particularly in this matchup where Penn State has lost a lot on the offensive and defensive lines. So if Purdue is able to win up front, that could provide a very tricky and very interesting situation for Penn State on Thursday night. The other area I'm going to be looking at is Purdue's lack of depth at wide receiver, matching up against what is probably Penn State's kind of secret weapon this year, which is their secondary. Their secondary is tremendous. It's very, very good. And so if Purdue's planning on just sitting back there and airing it out with Aiden O'Connell, who is very good, there could be problems there. Now, if I'm wrong and Purdue has these weapons who emerge, Payne Durham is a really, really good tight end. Maybe he's able to make enough plays for them. They have some other guys as well, but losing Milton Wright and David Bell, it just feels like there might be some growing pains there, and it might be an opportunity for Penn State to take advantage of that. Either way, I think it's a very fascinating battle and one that kind of goes against what we've seen in the past where Purdue hasn't been very strong on the offensive and defensive lines, whereas, Penn State has been in the past and Purdue's been elite throwing the football. It's a little different this season, at least coming into it. I think this game being in West Lafayette, this game being the first game of the year, I think 3.5 points is a little much. So I'm going to take Purdue plus 3.5. I think that this game will be close. I think Purdue might actually win this game. It would not shock me at all. But give me Purdue plus 3.5. I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close in West Lafayette on Thursday night. Moving on to Friday. The first game on Friday night, 7 p.m. on FS1 is Illinois at Indiana. Indiana is a 3-point favorite going into this game. So let me just kind of clarify this. Indiana was 2-10 a year ago. They lost Michael Penix. They were not good at all a season ago, whereas Illinois just demolished Wyoming 38-6 in week 0. They already have a game under their belt. I'm looking at this one, and I'm kind of in a little bit of shock here that Illinois is the underdog. I know they're going on the road, but Indiana, that's not a really daunting place to play. The Fighting Illini with their running back Chase Brown, Tommy DeVito at quarterback, I think they're going to find a way to get this one done. I like Illinois plus 3. I think this is one of my favorite picks of the entire slate. I think Illinois is going to find a way to get this one done, even though it's on the road. This is a big one, another Big Ten matchup. I think Illinois knows that they have a lot to play for. And if they win this game, they give themselves a great shot at actually making a bowl game this season. The other game on Friday, 9 p.m., on ESPN, TCU at Colorado. TCU is a 13.5-point favorite in Sonny Dykes' first game as the head coach there. Over under 55.5. So on the Colorado side, all 4 of their wins last year were at home. And then they also played Texas A&M at Mile High, and they only lost 10-7. I don't know. There's something telling me that this game might be a little more problematic than people are thinking for TCU. Max Duggan and Chandler Morris are expected to play in this game, according to Sonny Dykes. That's kind of weird. So what, are they going to rotate drives? Or, that quarterback indecisiveness might show up in this game, to be honest with you. I think both teams are going to look a little shaky week 1, especially first-year head coach Sonny Dykes. I mean, that usually does not bode well. Going on the road, your first game as a head coach, there's usually some problems. And that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to lose this game, but 13.5 points on the road, that's a lot of points. That's a whole lot of points in week 1. So for me, I'm kind of looking at this from a few different perspectives. I think I would take Colorado plus 13.5, but I'm not going to bet that. I'm going to bet the under, because the over-under is 55.5. That is way too many points week 1. I think it'll be under that. I think Colorado will play better defensively. I think TCU will look a little bit off week 1 offensively. And then the defenses, I think, will both play a lot better. So, again, my pick is the under 55.5. But if you are betting this, I would take Colorado to cover the 13.5. So that's it for the first part of this. I will have part 2 coming later on in the week. But thanks for tuning in for these bets.